consultant, and I spend a lot of time thinking about how people make sense of ideas. So before I say anything else, I do just want to acknowledge that every person in this session is already doing really meaningful, complex work. What I'm sharing today isn't about adding more, but it's about making sense of something that I've been noticing and something we've probably all felt at some point. That idea, that moment when an idea shifts from feeling interesting to suddenly maybe feeling a little stressful. So instead of starting with theory, you will get plenty of that throughout the conference. I want to start with a story. So one day, I'm watching my baby learn a new skill, and I notice something fascinating. The messiest moments often come right before a breakthrough. On this particularly messy day, she was trying to eat with a spoon by herself, very insistent, but she was holding it completely backwards. If you can kind of see, she has the handle side and it's slobbery. Um, my instinct, more than I would like to admit, and probably more than most, probably just as much as most parents would be to step in and correct it, right? But this time I didn't. Even though the spoon was backwards, she actually scooped her food for the first time all by herself. It was a hot mess, but she did it. And would that have happened if I had stepped in too soon? And that's when it really kind of clicked for me that messy isn't failure, it's emergence. And once I saw it there, I really started to see it everywhere. Parents know this. Any parents in the room right now? We all know sleep regressions happen, unfortunately. Our first thought is, oh my gosh, what's wrong? What needs to be fixed? How does the routine need to be changed? But then if we pause, we do see that there is a lot of research that shows sleep regression often happens because something new is developing. They're learning a new skill. And sure enough, right after all of these moments of sleepless nights, she started rolling, crawling for the first time, talking, and yes, walking. She actually turned 10 months yesterday, but at 9.5 months, she started walking. So I am now exhausted every day. Not just some days, but every day.
Yep.
Um, here's the uncomfortable kind of part for me. As a parent and as someone who has spent years in the classroom and in corporate spaces, I went through the creativity program. Even with how creative I know I am and how much I have trained myself to think this way, my first instinct is still often to evaluate. I don't always defer judgment as openly as I hope I would or feel like I would. I ask, is it right? Is this good? Is it efficient? Are they hitting benchmarks? Are we pacing properly? But children and honestly, most adults, we aren't always operating in evaluation mode. We do explore. Um, and that's really what I want to kind of talk about today, because these bigger parenting moments really led me to ask a much bigger question. What happens when judgment arrives too early? This question applies not just to babies, but to classrooms and workspaces, creative work. Mess is a big sign that something new is forming. And we are in a time of AI saturation. I know a lot of presentations are talking about AI over yesterday and today. We have perfection pressure, we have speed expectations, we have metrics and goals. In today's world, perfection doesn't drive innovation, but process and emergence does. So whether it's in parenting or in classrooms, in meetings, or even in our own heads, what if messy doesn't mean wrong? And I want to explore, what if it means something is emerging? What happens when evaluation shows up before ideas even have a time to form? So I want to test that out. I'm going to need your guys' help today. It's going to be very interactive today, okay? All right, let's jump in and generate ideas. I know we're all great thinkers with this. Generate your ideas as fast as you can, put them in the chat. You can come on mic or shout them out. I wish I had some post-it notes and markers for everybody. If you do want to write it down, hold it up to the screen, totally go for it. How can employers make Mondays more joyful? Cancel work. Nice, Jennifer. Great name. Start with a party. Okay, D. There are no wrong answers. If you're not sure what to write, ask for forgiveness, not permission. Just go for it. Free food. Change Mondays to start Tuesday. Okay, love it. Start with relaxing activities. We got yoga, meditation, have some live music, free coffee. Yes. Nap times, Cheryl. My idea. Yeah, I love that. All right. Any other ideas or any ideas you want to build on? Oh, give everyone a genuine compliment. I like that. Set up breaks throughout the day, massages for all. Great ideas. Take another minute. Set up cry rooms. They have those in churches. I've seen crying rooms and things. Have that at work. Call Mondays, Fridays. Comedy hour with films, YouTube. Love it. All right. Take your last idea. Ask employees what feels joyful to them. I like that asking. Important. All right. Great job. So, with this small little quick activity, I know it was nice and fun. Did we defer judgment? Because we see this guideline every time we have a divergent thinking session, defer judgment. But there's something fascinating about the guideline. Even though we know it's everywhere, it can be incredibly hard to follow. When judgment appears too early, we see ideas can shrink, the learning stalls. We mistake mess for failure and interrupt our growth. But what truly does defer judgment really mean? Because it is more than a guideline, it's actually an active discipline. It tells us to stay curious, to observe fully, and let ideas develop before we judge them. And we all know most brainstorming, follows a pattern. Ideas start out really safe, but then something does shift. Suddenly, ideas can become interesting or scary. So let's look at the ideas that we have. Did the ideas kind of change over time? We had some, I like that Jennifer asked to ask in even more questions. The employer, instead of just picking activity, ask the team what activity would work for them. We have building on the ideas. Monday equals Friday, Tuesdays, changing the different names. So we did build on them. Did they get stranger? They get a little fun. We had that kind of build up, things I haven't heard of it or thought of before. So if you feel comfortable, you can either physically raise your hand, use the Zoom reaction hand, but raise your hand if you have an idea that you didn't share at all. You don't have to share the idea. I hope you feel comfortable enough to share it now, but you don't have to. But raise your hand if there was an idea that you didn't type out. Cheryl, okay, thank you for being honest. So let's really think how many ideas never even get brought to the table during a brainstorming session at all, even in the most quote unquote safest of spaces, comfortable of spaces. So I'm going to ask in again. Think to yourself if you had an idea that you didn't share and you still didn't share that you didn't share it. Because I know Cheryl shared that. Anybody have an idea that they didn't share and they still didn't want to admit it? And it's okay if you don't want to share that with me. But that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So we are saturated with fast, quick, correct ideas. And here's something that I actually experienced when I asked AI and other tech to help me with this same question. And I promise you, I'm not going to just shoot down AI or tech. It can be important and very useful in different ways, but I do want us to just think about the usage. So when I was just typing the same prompt, autocorrect wanted to switch joyful to productive, and then important, and then enjoyable was third. So it was still focused on the business side until the third one and then said, oh, maybe she meant enjoyable. ChatGPT gave me ideas on making Mondays more enjoyable, but mostly still focused on being productive. Everything still said this makes it more enjoyable for your employees and keeps production high, keeps productivity high. So it still had a specific answer that it was prepared to give no matter how open I did the question. I asked the same way. And then I also asked, why are Mondays the worst? To really put that emotional piece there. Still gave me productivity. So really think about it. Even the images used in this presentation or any presentation can both spark and prematurely shut down our ideas. Yet we so heavily rely on all of these other pieces. I'd be judged if this presentation was just me verbally talking and on camera. All right. The reason why people want perfection is because they want to be done a lot of the time. When we feel something is right, we feel it because it's usually done or complete. But that thinking can cut off what could be. We're going to talk more about that. So, creativity often follows a very nonlinear path, as we know. There's a lot of messy early attempts. We have some peak confusion and then breakthrough. Judging too early or interrupts this natural process. But again, like I said, watching my baby, I see this exact pattern in real time. And deferring judgment doesn't mean that judgment is bad. We all know evaluation is critical, but the timing of it matters. And human intelligence actually relies heavily on the loop between sensation, reflection, and language. So we actually don't just perceive reality, we refine our perception by describing it since we are a language-based species. There's actually substantial neuroscience research that supports the idea that perception is based on just a single sense is often incomplete or biased. So allowing time for additional sensory input can actually improve our perceptual accuracy. And that most of our brainstorming we see is very visual. We have language prompts, and then we respond with more language in writing in some form. And neuroscience has shown that the brain rarely will trust a single sensory channel, and instead it kind of integrates multiple senses into one perceptual estimate. It's called multisensory integration. So the research shows that when visual, auditory, tactile, or other cues are all combined, the perception actually becomes more accurate, faster, and more reliable than using one sense alone. And we see that a lot with like multisensory integration, cue integration, evidence accumulation, in decision making and everything like that. So I know that's kind of a lot of mumbo jumbo in a way, but really what it means is we have to have these other pieces of connection and we have to give that pause so that we don't defer or so we don't judge too soon and we can actually defer it. Because we are surrounded by systems designed to judge instantly, which means we start judging ideas before they even exist, before we even bring them to the table, before we even put them in the chat, put them on a post-it note, shout them out. So think of a moment where something looked messy before it worked. Think to your work, your life, could be a project, a learning experience, or an idea. Just think about it. If you feel comfortable and you want to share it, feel free. You can come on mic or you can throw it in the chat. Think of a moment where something looked messy before it worked out. Cheryl, I'm going to take that smile that you got one in your head. If you feel comfortable, I'd love to hear it. You don't have to, though, no
Oh,
pressure.
generally, anytime I'm writing a paper for class, it's rather messy until it comes together. So,
And how long does it usually take to come together? Is it instantaneous or
oh
does it take
no,
some time?
it takes some time. Yeah.
How do you feel throughout that process of going from the messy to the polished completion?
I probably go through all the stages of grief and then throw in some chaos and prayer and all kinds of things in between. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like back with the mountain. If I go back to the other screen, this view looks beautiful. But
Yes.
how many sweaty days were there? How many times where, your boots were filled with water, your tent had a hole in it, you ran out of the granola that you liked and you were stuck with the freeze-dried, whatever you call it. It's not always beautiful, but eventually you get to that beauty and it takes time. And that's really what deferring judgment is really all about, of giving those intentional pauses to really let things breathe, let things grow, let things be messy for a minute. And I saw that a lot in my classroom as an educator as well. I would have mistake quotas with my kindergarten kiddos because when it gets a little too messy, one, they love the mess, and two, they cry if it's too messy. So to make sure I didn't have to worry about that, I would have a mistake quota. So I would put at least one mistake for every person in the room, including me and any other teachers. And then anytime we made a mistake, we would go up and we would tally it on the board and we would cheer that we made a mistake and we were learning. And it cut down significantly on the crying, but also the students learned from that. I don't always see that in adult workspaces, but it would be so important for it. Thank you, Cheryl. I really appreciate you sharing that. Anybody else have something that was messy before at work that you want to share? And if not, you can throw it in the chat and we can always see that as we continue on.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oops.
Go ahead, Maria.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm following you from Portugal. And
Welcome.
okay, I'm not very confident with this, but with
That's
Zoom,
okay.
but yeah, my it's lovely to be here with you first. And my sharing is that I live in the UK. I'm an immigrant. I live in Scotland, and I love writing in English. What it's quite a challenge because it's not my mother tongue.
Mm,
But I did experience that mess of creativity, so I had an inspiration to write a children's story. And I went through all that stage first. Oh, maybe I'm not able to write in English. Maybe no. But I went through all that stage, and I carry on, and I managed to publish a little story. It's just a little story, but it's my baby. And yes,
wow.
I could see myself in your words. In the beginning is a messy when we start writing. I did 3 drafts, and only along the drafts I could start seeing my voice coming and starting resonate to me. So yes, I'm totally with you. We need the mess. It's
Yeah.
through the mess that we grow, probably.
Yeah. Thank you, Marie. That is beautiful. I have a little baby at home, so throw your book in the chat because I'm definitely going to get it. Okay.
Okay,
That is
I'm so
amazing.
happy. Yes,
Yes, thank
my
you.
pleasure.
Thank you so much
Thank
for sharing your story and sharing your mess. Dee, did
thank
you
you.
have one too? I see the hand.
Oh,
Yes, I'm not sure if this is exactly the same thing, but this is kind of an epiphany. It's something that I do intuitively, and I've never understood why I do this. So if I'm going to clean off a surface like a dresser or a desk or something, I have to make a mess of it all first. I have to either put it all out on the bed or all out on the floor. I can't clean it up little like bit by bit. And it's always I've always wondered why I just have this preference of doing it that way.
And that's like system level thinking for you. If you really think about it, that's how the system works for you. There's no reason to change it or make it fit for anybody else. If that's not how any of us would do it, it doesn't matter. That system works for you, and
And
that's how you get to what you need, right?
that's how I get to order. I have to
Yes.
make a mess first before I can get to order.
Yes. I love that. Great example. Everyone, you're doing amazing. If there's any other ones that you guys want to share just for time, put it in the chat because everything we're going to do is very interactive today. So I want to give some time for some of the other pieces. But thank you all just for being open and honest with me. So I want to kind of pause and do a little kind of experiment really quick to really kind of test this out with the deferring judgment. So, has anyone ever played Pictionary before? Just quick show of hands. Okay. How about the telephone game? So the telephone game is when you say something to somebody and then you turn and you say it to somebody else and then they say it to somebody else and over time it kind of changes. And then has anybody ever played Telestrations? Like a combo of those two games. Okay. Telestrations is you're either given a phrase or an image and then you have to give the answer back. So if you get a phrase, you draw the picture of what you think that phrase is. If you're given the picture, you draw the caption of what you think the phrase should be. So we're going to kind of try this out. And I want you to notice what happens when these ideas pass between people. And again, this is a very safe space. No wrong answers, literally at any time. Okay. So let's give this a little bit of a try. If you have anything where you can sketch, go for it. The phrase is person with a sub by a station. No wrong answers. Sketch it out. Joe, if you do want to draw on the screen, you can use that annotation feature if you can, and you can draw right on the screen anywhere you want, Dr. Joe. There's no wrong answers.
I, I
Go
just
ahead,
have a
Maria.
question.
Go for it.
Uh, what is sub in English? I'm sorry. The meaning of the word sub.
So I'm not going to answer that yet, only because that can change how other people think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
don't be sorry. It's a great question. It's a great question. Just for this, it does change the perception. So whatever you think it could be,
Okay.
there's no wrong answer. Just draw what you think, but I will give an explanation afterwards, I promise, okay?
So I'll try to draw, correct?
Correct. As best as you can, your interpretation. But Maria, great question. I will answer it afterwards, okay? All right. Person with a sub by a station. Joe, great job. I love it. And these do not have to be perfect illustrations. Nice sketches are totally fine. And again, no wrong answers. Whatever comes to your mind, defer judgment. And you could do like Veronica as well. If you'd rather write out what you think with more details or explanation, you can use verbiage and language as well. All right. Does anybody want to share what their picture was? Or maybe we'll start with Joe because we can actually see Dr. Joe's. If you just want to go, you're on mute.
Okay, it's hard to draw with that thing.
You did a great job.
I tried to make a person and tried to make something that might be a building. When it grows up, it's messy first. When it
I
grows
love
up,
it.
it'll be a building.
Love it. And what is the person holding?
A sub sandwich,
A sub
submarine
sandwich.
sandwich.
Got it. So, Maria, sometimes we call a sub or a submarine sandwich like a big sandwich. Sometimes it's like a hoagie. That would be a sub. But then there's also submarine. So, Veronica put in the chat submarine, like the big ship in the water and everything. Did anyone
Okay.
have a different idea of sub that's not a submarine or a sandwich? Anybody have a different one? Jennifer, I see that you sent yours. I'm going to try to download it.
Ah,
Oh,
yes.
Cheryl put a subway, so subway
Mhm.
system or subway station.
Um, just a contribution mine. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, let me hear
It's
it.
just it's interesting because now I realize that American English has different words sometimes from English from UK, isn't it?
Correct.
Yes.
So
That's why I didn't want to
ah
answer you right away because I didn't want to give away
ah
any thinking. So I do apologize I didn't
no
answer your
no
question right up
it's
front.
yeah. So a sub can be a sandwich in America. Yes.
Yes, yes. It's a big
Ah,
sandwich, big delicious sandwich.
all right.
Lots
Okay.
of meat and stuff.
It
All right.
could regionally, depends on where
Regionally,
you
yes.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people call it hoagies, like if you're in Jersey, or Philly, it could be a hoagie. So,
It's just a
Okay.
yeah,
really big sandwich.
just a really big sandwich. If you think of
Amazing.
like a long one, yeah.
All right.
Well, great
Thank you.
job, everybody. Of course. Thank you so much. Keep putting your descriptions. Dominique, I see yours there. Same kind of thing, a guy on a bench with a large sub sandwich in front of a firehouse, different kind of a station. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I love this, everybody. Okay, so let me just erase Joe. Joe, I'm sorry, your drawing was beautiful, but I do just have to erase
Oh,
it for a
please
second.
erase.
All right, so I asked my friends and my family to do the same experiment. And one of my friends is actually a bartender. So she asked random people at the bar, and at the bar, it was actually open mic comedy. So some of our famous Buffalo comedians did the same experiment. Here's some of their drawings. So Kind of similar for some. We have looks like a train station. We have ticket. It looks like maybe a bus station,
Or a gas station.
gas station. We have some trains, but here it's all sandwiches for this one. And again, all different levels of people. We had comedians to family members to friends to drunks at the bar, all different levels of inhibition. And we still got pretty much the same thing. And again, thinking of that of it started with a language prompt. Language does guide our thinking a lot of ways, whether it's positive or not. AI does a lot of that too. It's a language-based model. So it can only give certain types of responses and it makes a lot of assumptions as well. So then I also had some family respond, like some of you in the chat. But even my mother-in-law said, "Oh, you said send an image, not rephrase the statement." So then she sent me some images because she did restate it. And another good friend of mine also restated the words. Then we took the same drawings, my friend, my bartender friend again. This is all interpretive and generative. So ideas don't stay perfect as they move through people. They do change. And sometimes those changes lead to something even better. So here she asked new people who didn't know what the prompt was to take the picture and put the caption of what they thought it was. So when they looked at the picture, this one thinks, Gabby guzzles glizzy, which is a word for hot dogs, gregariously at Gus's glistening grocer petrol station. A man allows an Alaskan bullworm to pass ticket booth while eating a giant steak hoagie. So another kind of a sub. Whale jail, because they had submarine at the police station, and then subway at the subway. So now, starting with an image, we see a lot of variety in the ideas because we started with an image instead of with the language, instead of with the prompt. And notice how the interpretation shifted. The illustration helps, and this illustrates exactly why pausing and deferring judgment really increases the accuracy and preserves our emergence. Because you can see where the ideas started to change. You can see where some of the assumptions were made and what information was lost. Okay. So now I have another one. This time, instead of drawing it, write the caption of what you think this is a picture of. Again, no wrong answers. And wait to share it on mic or on chat. I'll tell you when. That way we give people a little pause to think without changing their interpretation. So take a minute, observe the image, think about how you would caption it. Just pause for a minute before you put it in the chat. All right. Feel free. You can share it in the chat now. Feel free to build on others' ideas. Once you see one that you like, feel free to build on it. See how these ideas are evolving when we put that intentional pause. The interpretation changes, the meaning shifts, things get weird, and that's actually the point. Anyone want to share their thinking or their ideas from this part of the experiment? We have singing for money. We got groupies about the death of Superman. So we got some that are singing, some that are praying, some that are in an improv group. So it really could be anything that you want it to be, an S or an 8. This is the old school middle school S that many of us in the 90s drew in our notebooks over and over and over again. But it absolutely could be an 8 if that's how you're interpreting it. Jennifer, question.
I'm curious to see what the group was experiencing. I went through like 16 ideas, like different things popped in my head, and then I had to decide which one seemed like the most relevant or powerful interpretation that I was going to choose. So I'm wondering, did everyone else go through a similar process where they actually sort of did this mini ideation and then converged towards their decision? Did they go with the first thing? How did people approach it?
Honestly, you could have put all 16 in there. We weren't converging yet. It's all you didn't defer your own judgment. You thought you had to come up with one perfect answer. You could have put all 16. It could have been the Jennifer chat over here. You would have crushed it. And that's absolutely okay. But go ahead. Does anyone have anything to add with Jennifer's question? Did anybody else do a mini session in their head? Think of a couple ideas, but only put one down? Because I see a couple people did put some multiples, I believe. I think Dominique, we have two. Oh, said that you went through your first thought. It came to you immediately. Okay. Settled on the most outlandish and fun. So yeah, we could have definitely put even more. I could have been more clear on maybe that detail with it. So I apologize for that there. But really think about this. You know, so much more can come from it. Raise your hand or put it in the chat. Did you feel more energized or you feel like you had more ideas with the picture or with the verbal prompt? And there's no wrong answer. More ideas with the picture. And it can be different for different people. You know, we are a language-based species. Absolutely okay to go more with the prompt. All right, I'm going to show you one last sketch before we move on, just because it is too good. My dad sent this one. I'm like, what the heck, Dad? This is perfect because I don't think he got the memo that we're supposed to be rebelling against perfection. But anyway, I digress. When he sent that, I was like, "Are you kidding me? I can't use this same way." But I still wanted to show it to you guys. But let's imagine if we stop that game after each step, what judgment could have done with this? Like if we evaluated every little piece of it, the game would stop instantly. And you guys all even kind of had your own judgment with it. Is it right? You know, is it wrong? Did I misunderstand? Do I put the right one here? We all have that internal struggle, even if the ideation session says defer judgment, it's a safe space, it's open. We ourselves still don't always defer our own personal judgment of our own ideas. And that's exactly what happens in many real creative processes. Creativity is less like a straight line, as we all know. It's absolutely like a spiral. Ideas grow by being explored, by being revisited, reinterpreted, and reshaped. So, perceptual decision making research shows that the brain actually uses evidence accumulation, like I mentioned a little bit earlier. Sensory signals arrive to us, evidence builds over milliseconds and seconds. But once a threshold is reached, we can make decisions. But if you decide too quickly, we rely on partial evidence, and often, usually from one dominant sense. A lot of times, visual. So, waiting longer allows more sensory input, has some cross checking between the senses, and we do have a higher confidence in our judgments. And this principle really appears in models like drift diffusion or like the perception used in neuroscience and psychology. We see this like with driving. Vision alone, we misjudge distance a lot. But if we have vision and sound and motion, we have more accurate awareness. We see it with medical diagnoses. I know that there is a session on medicine and things as well. When we use it for, doctors improve accuracy when they combine like a visual imaging and patient symptoms and tactile exams and lab tests. We have a better diagnosis of what the patient has. Same thing with learning. My background's in education. Multisensory information improves memory and processing compared to a single sense input. So imagine if we could taste or touch or even, smell an idea so that it can expand. Think of how many brainstorming sessions only focus on, visual language-based prompts and stimuli. Just really think about it, you know? And not only would a multisensory approach really improve our ideas, it's also more inclusive for people as well. So, you know, this doesn't always have to sound harsh when it comes up. Sometimes we hear it in meetings like, let's be realistic, or, oh, we've tried that before. Sometimes you just get silence when you share an idea, or maybe there's a quick topic change, or let's put a pin in that. Let's add it to the parking lot. Let's revisit it, and then it's never returned to ever. And these small moments of hidden judgment really quietly shut ideas down. And even AI can shut ideas down too, depending on the verbiage of your prompt, depending on how you ask it. Is this correct? It'll only give you an answer that says yes or no, that it is or isn't correct based on other information. It won't give you additional ideas to grow past it. So we have to be very, very precise with our language because AI is a language model. Once people feel evaluated, they switch from exploration mode to this protection mode. And again, back to our senses, vision is considered the sense most based on protection and safety. It mediates about 80% of our overall perceptions and is our pretty much our primary detection mechanism for like potential hazards. Those hazards could be, you know, is this too expensive? Will this idea be too hard? Is this idea too much work? Will this take too much time? Or I don't understand this. Again, just from seeing a visual prompt. But if we have multiple senses, again, it's going to increase that. It's going to give us more evidence and more comfort. And actually, about 75% of people say they are most scared of losing their vision, which highlights its role and the importance of what we think and see. So to bring it back, you know, a little bit to the organizations, we know that organizations that defer judgment create this psychological safety, whether they name it or not. There's more innovation, more experimentation, more collaboration. So deferring judgment isn't just a creativity trick or a guideline anymore. It's actually an innovation strategy, and it is the future if we stick with it. And these are just some ways that we can protect our ideas, just some techniques to kind of give ideas time to grow. But I do want to hear if you have any other ideas that maybe you've been using or maybe you want to use, but you haven't before. Anything that you do to protect your own ideas so that you don't shut down on them too early. Again, I mentioned like the mistake quota was something I did with my students. We could have an idea quota where we don't have judgment until we hit a certain level. Yes, and I know a lot of us, especially if you've gone through the program, have heard the, you know, using yes and prompts to have people build on those ideas. Sketch maybe before a discussion, see what people are thinking or feeling. Again, I like the question. I forgot who mentioned it. Might have been Jennifer, but I don't know if I'm only thinking that because that's my name too. But somebody mentioned to ask the team what they think joyful is like. So maybe instead of starting a meeting telling, you start your meetings by asking the team what they're feeling, what they're thinking before going into things. These are just some. But if you have other ideas, please feel free to share them in the chat. The harshest judge is often just ourselves, and we kind of already have talked about this. Many ideas never even reach the meeting or the classroom because we judge it ourselves first. And back to the game. Again, I had several of Buffalo's funniest comedians do the activity, friends and family who should be very comfortable with me. The amount of people who messaged me and said, I don't know if I did this right, or I'm no artist, but I tried. Is this okay? Is this what you were looking for? Even though I gave almost no additional, you know, I gave no criteria to really limit that. People limited it themselves. I did defer, I'm sorry, I did pass judgment a little early. I did have one friend who drew a picture and they did a submissive as the sub. I didn't think it was a proper picture, even though it was appropriate. I just didn't think because it's a professional conference. Maybe I don't put that in, even though it was a great image. It was funny. It fit the task. But I even had my own judgment and my own bias with that. Okay. And think about if you have any ideas that you've never shared, but you still think about it. Throw it in the chat if you have it. But just based on time, I want to bring it back to the moment that started all this. Not just because I want to show off my baby again, but what I realized in parenting and with children, they naturally defer that judgment. They test, they explore, Sometimes they're unsafe. They reinterpret things. But somewhere along the way, us adults, we all stop doing that. How do we bring that back? So just think, where are some ways that you can defer your own judgment more, whether it's in your own work, whether it's in your classroom, in your team, in your own personal thinking, even if it's not professional thinking at all. Where can you defer your judgment a little bit more? Just think about that. And again, feel free to throw it in the chat just for time. I have just some examples that you can get started with, but creativity doesn't need the perfection. It just needs some time before judgment. If we want more creativity, innovation, and learning, we don't need new prompts, better ideas, and things like that. We really just need to give our ideas a little bit more space to actually become something. So the next time you see something messy, whether it's your book, whether it's your paper, whether it's your kid, just pause, observe it. Don't judge it prematurely. Just breathe, let the process unfold. That's how we protect our learning, creativity, and innovation. All of that needs patience, curiosity, and space to really emerge. Just protect the mess, trust the process, let the ideas breathe. Remember, reacting is really easy, but responding is power. Thank you guys for attending my session. I'd love to hear from you guys if you have any other moments.
Jenn, this was excellent. It was a lot of fun
Thank you.
playing with deferring judgment. Are there any questions before I turn off the record? Oh, you've got some things in the chat and lots of digital hand clapping.
Yeah, I love the keep a journal, write down different ideas. Yes, and we're happy a lot of people are using that. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, Dee. Just watching the news, pause, take it in for a minute, think about it because we're inundated with it now. We need those moments to breathe and have that space, that safe space.
And that I had something this week about cognitive rearranging of information.
Mm-hmm.
You decide what it's going to mean for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Oh, she's got a.
Maria, yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Maria.
Yes, I just want to say one of the things that was coming to my mind. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Is that sometimes we judge ourselves because we are influenced by past experience. But as you said, your baby, when we are babies, children, we don't have all that carry on our shoulders, isn't it? We are still in a pure state, open to experience, open to learn. And as we grow up, we carry past experience. And I think about myself sometimes. I can judge myself or be afraid because somehow subconscious we are influenced by past experience, isn't it? Of judgment. Oh, yeah. And then we hold ourselves back.
Yeah.
That was coming to me.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Maria. That's a great point with that. And again, that's with the deferring judgment. We say it a lot of times as a guideline for whole group ideation, but we don't always think about it on the individual level of how am I deferring my own judgment on my own ideas, not just on other people's ideas. So really thinking about that, like the next time you step into anything, anytime that an idea is going to be shared, just think about that pause because we do have our own bias and we have our own judgment. But how do we give ourselves grace and just give ourselves that intentional pause to be in a safe space to just observe? Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thank you again, Jenn. It's been a wonderful day. I'm so happy that all of you came this afternoon.
Thank you.
And we want to invite you to continue to join us with these C presentations. We sometimes have one day things that are just maybe one speaker or something, but we will, if you've gotten on our mail list, you'll get all the information. And if you ever need any other information, you can contact me. I'm I'm the information person.
Yeah.
for us, particularly for graduate students. No questions? Thank you all again for coming. We're looking forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing you again.